What's up, guys? This is Miles Markowitz.
And this is Brad Thomas.
Here to give you the best sports insights to beat your bookie.
You only need to ask one question.
What's the spread? Welcome in. What's the spread? We are off and running. Mr. Brad Thomas, how we doing?
Doing amazing. Another day, another chance to talk college football, NFL football with you.
A lot going on, man. College football season's really kicking into gear. We are just over a week away from Big Ten football joining the party. But until that happens, we have the game of the year. Everyone had it circled. God. And now, because of how good Georgia has looked, It really is a playoff preview. Number 3, Georgia. Number 2, Alabama. Bama, 6.5-point favorites. It's an 8 o'clock p.m. game. You can catch it on CBS. This is the big one. I got to ask you first, how are we feeling about the Crimson Tide?
Miles, I am not worried about the Crimson Tide at all. Generally, when we first and foremost, the line has moved to 4.5. But either way, I'm still taking Alabama to win and cover the spread here. What about you first? And I'll tell you why.
Yeah, so at 6.5, I had to take Georgia.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I got my reasons over there. So let me hear it.
So this series against the spread in the last 3 is 1-1-1. It's pretty even. Bama owns it straight up, right? For me, I think it's a lot of what have you done for me recently in this game that is leading the sharps, the public, everyone to hammer Georgia, right? Georgia's 2-1 against the spread this season. Bama's only 1-2 against the spread. We have Georgia who played Tennessee great, but are we just going to forget that first half? There's a lot of things that happened in that Georgia-Tennessee game where the spotlight was too big for Tennessee, right? They held Eric Gray to, 25 yards? But to me, it's this Bama offense that really, really has me giddy. I'm excited. It's something that we didn't have because we had Tua, but it was a lot of Tua forcing the issue, and he really showed his brilliance come through. With Mack Jones, I think that our team is so complete now that he has no pressure. Like, the offensive line is better. Our running game is a lot stronger. Najee Harris winning Maxwell Player of the Week last week and SEC Player of the Week. We have Mack Jones who, with the effortless mantra, I guess he's going by, where I'm just doing the right thing, just trying to show who I am. He leads the league in total QBR, right? Alabama, one thing they do historically well, after against the spread losses or after they've given up 40 points or had terrible defensive performances, they bounce back. They are 6-0 against the spread following an against the spread loss. They're 4-0 against the spread in their last 4 games following 40-point games. You remember the last match between these two teams was a pretty bad Alabama defense. It was 35-28 versus Georgia. And at one point, everyone thought Alabama was going to lose. I think that this offense is good enough to weather the defensive storm because it's no joke that everyone knows Georgia's good. But Nick Saban, even though he's not going to be there, you better believe in these Zoom meetings that he's having, he's getting his players ready. Another thing that kind of tilted my tide of thinking, football is such an emotionally filled game. These players, especially on defense, because those are the closest players to Saban, are going to be up and ready for that game. I swear to you, all they're saying in the locker room is, yo, we got to do this one, coach. We got to do this one for coach. And this, I don't know if this is going to be an asterisk when it becomes 22-0 against former assistant coaches, but I think they're going to win this game, and I think that it's going to be a lot like the Ole Miss game, where they're throwing punches back and forth, and the second Ole Miss kicks a field goal, it's not going to be nearly as high, but the second Georgia does that one thing where Alabama gets that 7-point lead, Alabama's going to stretch it to 14, stretch it to 10.
I feel like it's, well, first of all, Saban not being there, I don't think is going to make a difference.
I don't think so.
As far as, looking at the spread. But it definitely is something to consider. I feel like Alabama, the past 2 years, have become a much different style football team where they're really just going to make you keep up with them. Well, especially this year.
Yeah.
So I watched the Ole Miss game last weekend, and I will say, it was the first time in a long time where I actually thought Alabama was in trouble. Even though they were keeping the pace of the game, I just thought Ole Miss had the offensive game plan that was good enough to keep up with them. But that's what Bama is going to do, right? They're going to make you keep up with them on the scoreboard. Najee Harris had over 200 rushing yards, 5 scores.
Yes.
I mean, this kid is going off. But Georgia, for me, why I'm leaning Georgia, even with a 4.5-point spread, I would bet on Georgia to at least keep this a 3-point game. The defense is good every single year.
Yes.
but it's especially good this year at a time when nobody is playing good defense in the league.
Yeah.
The Georgia defense only giving up 12.3 points per game. They're only allowing 1.5 yards per carry. I feel like if they can just contain Najee Harris or contain the Alabama offense, they only need a couple of stops. I was not a believer in Spencer Bennett, but I'm going to tell you right now, Spencer Bennett...
Stetson, yeah.
No, you're good. Looks better than Murray ever did.
Yes.
Like leading this offense.
Yes.
And I feel like on those two sides where they have the defense, they have a little bit of the offense, but the question is, how is Georgia's defense going to play? Because if they can't stop Alabama, if they're giving up the points, they will not keep up.
Yeah, I'm still worried about Georgia's defense. One thing that makes me a little bit more excited or a little less anxious is you look at the caliber of quarterbacks they have played so far, where you have Felipe Franks, you have Bo Nix, and you have Quintero. I can't even pronounce his last name. And if you eliminate the running game from all three of those teams, they are obsolete. Now Georgia has to do, this will be a true test of how good that defense is because they have to eliminate the running game and the passing game. And they haven't had to do that yet for either of these games. You saw when Tennessee had to win the game with their quarterback's arm. He threw an interception. He couldn't keep sustained drives. That defense is that good, but also Tennessee's that one-sided. We'll see a lot about both teams for this game. So I'm very excited. As a sports bettor, I will not bet the game. I'm going to bet props around it because, like you said, you made very good points. Like I said, I've made very good points, and I think it's that close.
And I think both teams are going to prove why this is a potential college football playoff preview.
Yes.
I mean, it is two of the best four teams in the country. There's no doubt about that. So I think more so than Alabama, this is really going to tell me where Georgia is at because every time I feel like Georgia is turning a corner, they can't show up with the big performance. They're going to need this is a time to do that.
They're going to need Zaire White to run the ball because I don't think Stetson Bennett's going to beat Alabama's arm. They're going to need yards on the game.
Well, it just won't be enough.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
At that point.
Zaire White has to do something.
You got to figure Bama's at least putting up 35 points in this game. I mean, that's minimum.
Yeah.
So if you're Georgia, you're game planning around that.
Yes.
All right. What's next?
Up next, hold on, let me pull this game up real quick. Next we have, oh great, I've been wanting to talk about this game. We have UCF, who's a 3-point favorite, traveling to Memphis.
Unranked UCF.
Unranked UCF dropped hard after that Tulsa loss. Miles, which side of the coin do you go in?
So, here's the thing. The against the spread numbers are telling me to bet against the Knights. The Knights are 4-9 against the spread in their last 13 games. 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 conference games. However, I do think the spread is very favorable, even on the road here. I'm taking the Knights -3.
I'm taking the Knights -3 as well. I have all those stats written down, Miles. The 4-9 against the spread in their last 13, 4-9.
And it's fair to say that because UCF has had trouble covering the spreads, but as we mentioned, UCF is one of those teams who doesn't normally get a favorable spread.
Never.
And especially after the Tulsa loss, you know that this was a big adjustment.
Yes. The Tulsa game was kind of unfair. It's kind of a line-through game where it's a weather game. Your quarterback's not playing well, and your coach just got out.
It was a tough letdown. It was a tough letdown.
What, 22-9 was the final outscoring?
Honestly,
Tulsa?
and I thought the game was in hand in the first half. I thought it was completely
16-0 or something.
Gabriel still had a good game. It just wasn't a good second half game plan. But this Memphis secondary cannot stop anybody. Shane Buechele had a field day. I mean, they could not, and that was Buechele. Gabriel
is going to annihilate
at least 350 yards, and UCF's not going to turn the ball over.
No.
Whereas I feel like they're going to be able to force some turnovers on Memphis.
Yeah, DG has 2 interceptions, and I think the bye week's really going to help UCF with that.
Agreed.
That up-tempo offense, it sometimes gets you in trouble with silly penalties like false starts.
Yeah.
This bye week's going to help you clean
And they've been
that up
battle-tested now.
Yes.
All their games have been on the road. They've only played 1 game at home.
Yes.
So I feel like that's only good for them. This is a big game.
Big game.
This is a game that turns your season this way or the next.
Yes.
Are you going to stay in the race for the conference?
Or are you going to
fall
falter?
back?
And for me, another thing that really made me excited was, Miles, when was the last time Memphis has beat UCF?
Yeah, I feel like UCF, how good are these games?
It's 13 straight victories for the UCF Knights.
And Memphis has had them beat 3 times.
Yes, easily.
3 times.
Yes.
In the past 2.5 years.
Yep.
I mean, so this game is always good, but usually the spread is so much bigger for UCF.
Yes.
But Memphis can score 2, don't get me wrong, but the fact that Memphis, the secondary is just so depleted and so weak.
Yes.
I think it's a no-brainer.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on to Kentucky and Tennessee.
Oh, yes.
Number 18, Tennessee. They are favored by 6 points here for a 12 o'clock start. How do they bounce back after, what everybody was calling a program-defining game against Georgia, where they had such a good first half, but Georgia just really showed their depth in that second half. I like Tennessee here to bounce back -6 because Kentucky's offense has shown me nothing that makes me believe that they can cover at +6 points.
Miles, I've watched a lot of Kentucky, watched a lot of Tennessee, obviously as an SEC guy, and if you watch the game separately, you think it's gonna be a lot closer than it is. And then I started getting into the trends, right? And I was like, man, Kentucky's 5-0 against the spread against teams with winning records, 5-1 in their last 6 September games. But then against Tennessee, they are awful. The all-time record in this game is 81-25 in Tennessee's favor. Tennessee has a bounce-back game here, and
agreed.
One thing that a lot of people, especially public, I haven't seen what the public money is, I didn't check, they're going to forget that Tennessee played probably the best team in the country defensively. Yep. The numbers don't say so for Georgia. They're the number 1 defense in the SEC, but I don't think Kentucky can stop Eric Gray and this great offensive line. It's going to be one of those weird games where Kentucky might score 28 points, but it's going to be a field day on the ground for Eric Gray in that great backfield.
And you mentioned the game history. Last 13 home games against Kentucky, they're 10-3 against the spread. Another thing I liked, Brad, looking at box scores, Kentucky, in their 20-42 win against Mississippi State last week, forced 6 turnovers and only scored 24 points. How do you do that?
It felt like Kentucky had the ball the entire game.
Yeah. So, the Kentucky defense looked really good, but to be fair, the Mississippi State offense has looked horrible since week 1. Whereas Tennessee still has that good offensive line. Yes. They still don't make mistakes. They showed us what they could do in that first half against Georgia. They're getting there. It's a step in the right direction.
That Tennessee game was purely, I wanted to say this, experience, and we've been there before, is the reason they lost. Because they got to the locker room and they're like, are we really going to do this?
Yeah, exactly.
Are we doing this?
Exactly.
We're going to do this. But Georgia, we're in this.
Yeah.
We know we're in this. Tennessee now gets to play a Kentucky team where they're better than them on all sides of the ball, both sides of the ball, every aspect. 6 points is favorable. I think it's going to be an easy 14-point win by them.
All right. Moving on to a team we have not been able to talk about.
This game's interesting. We have Louisville take out number 4 Notre Dame. Notre Dame is laying 16.5 points. Who are you going with?
I like Notre Dame to cover here, -16.5. I'm looking at about a 38-17 score. Louisville's lost 3 straight games. They're on a downslide. 2-7-1 against the spread in their last 10 road games. Who do you like?
I'm going with Notre Dame as well. Listen, I'm not one to talk about sharp money too often. Okay. Like, sharp money is great, but sharps do lose like 46-47% of the time. So if you just follow on sharp money, you're probably going to lose overall because it's too tight of a window to check. Miles, 53% of the bets are on Louisville to cover.
And it's really
sharp money is 73%.
For Notre Dame?
Notre Dame.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me because I feel just because it's such a big spread.
Yeah, they're
it
like,
looks nice.
Yeah, I think this has trap written all over it for public bettors.
Yeah.
Like, they're like,
I'm with you.
Notre Dame doesn't, and I've heard this 3 weeks in a row, Notre Dame doesn't historically cover big spreads. Notre Dame has blown out 3 opponents in a row. You already said the trend that I really liked with Louisville, but I'm also going to look back at that Georgia Tech game. They made was Jeffrey Sims look like an all-star. 2 touchdowns through the air, 2 touchdowns on the ground. They allowed 20 unanswered points in the 4th quarter versus an offense that struggles to score points. Are you kidding me? Ian Book has yet to have a 300-yard game this season. I think it's either going to be he has a 300-yard game or Louisville doesn't score enough points where he doesn't play in the 3rd or 4th quarter.
And that's only because Notre Dame's been so good on the ground that Ian Book hasn't really had to air it out.
Oh, my God.
But they've been really good at home. Their last 21 home wins, they're winning by an average of 24 points.
Yes.
When we're talking about covering those spreads, I actually feel like this spread should be more. I feel like it should be up
21,
here. 20.5, 21. So when I saw it here, and keep in mind, guys, Notre Dame missed 3 weeks.
Yes.
They missed 9 days of practice. They didn't even have all their guys back.
Yep.
So they had a slow start against Florida State.
Yeah.
How about it's another adjustment?
Yeah.
It's okay. Well, everyone's going to go towards Louisville to cover here because they didn't look good against Florida State. It was a slow start.
No.
They took care of business. Now they're back in rhythm, and I'm telling you, I think it's a really good Notre Dame team. They're good on both sides of the ball, and I think they're going to start to make some noise here as the season goes along.
I agree, and I'm glad you alluded to their running game. My God, Williams and Flimeister, each game, you don't know. It's like fire and lightning. Which running back is going to annihilate you? Both of them running for 100 yards or receiving for 100 yards in the game. Ian Book is like, wait, I don't have to do anything?
Yeah,
I just
exactly.
hand the ball to one of these guys and
takes a lot of pressure off him.
This is a good game for me to just be like confident with my bet and watch the Louisville show just crumble because I feel so bad for Cunningham. He does everything in his power. He had a good game against Notre.
He's not a bad QB.
Awful.
Louisville's just not where they need to be right now.
No.
All right, last Saturday before Big Ten football. Really excited about that. Really excited for the Georgia-Bama game, obviously. All right, underdogs. Sizzling hot.
Dude.
My friend, you are 5-0. I am 4-1.
Dude.
I'll take a combined 9-1 with our dogs. Hopefully you've been betting them, making some money. Everybody wants to know who you going with next, riding the hot streak.
Before I give my pick, I want to say two things. First thing, guys, do not buy too much into this sharp money. This is where the pros are at because the pros told you Coastal was a bad bet at +2. Well, we got it +280, and then it was a bad bet at +250. It dropped all the way down before the line was re-released at +210. Then the line was +7, +7.5, and these are all the lines I took every single time. And then the line again got to +9, and +9.5. I bought up to +10. This week is a lot tougher, but I went with this +12 spread because I like Boston College and what they're doing with their quarterback. I'm taking Boston College at a +350 underdog to number 23 Virginia Tech.
All right. Well, it's really the ACC, like those mid-tier teams, have really been. I mean, I called NC State last year over Virginia. I mean, so I love it. Great pick there. All right, I'm going to go on with a Friday night game here. We got everyone's darling right now, BYU, going up against Houston. Houston is +5. They've only played one game, a 49-31 win over Tulane, but we still don't exactly know what we have with this Houston team, but I like what I see enough to get a big Friday night upset.
I am so glad you picked that game. Dude, this is another game where the public, everyone is hammering BYU. BYU looked lackluster last game.
Right now.
Yeah. And no one knows who the team is.
I mean, 49 points over a good Tulane team. They were firing in all sides.
That Houston game, if you watch that game from start to finish and you take away 2 Houston scores, you think Houston gets annihilated.
Yeah.
They're just kicking themselves in the foot with and it's not like bad turnovers, just unfortunate. Block kicks, fumbles. I'm so glad that I really like that.
BYU looks good, but it's a prime spot for an upset. All right, so let's see if we can keep it going. Before we get into the NFL, let's take a break for our sponsors.
Hey, Miles, you know what'd be pretty cool? If there's a social media app just for sports.
You know, Brad, I was just thinking that. Like a social media app where there's a feed where you can post about your picks, see what others are saying about the game, and you know how I love to see how the lines move throughout the week.
Well, you're in luck. Viget is the best social media platform just for sports. When you download Viget, use promo code SPREAD and create your account today.
All right, my friend, rapid fire NFL. Here we go. We're talking about the Brownies again. They came through for us last week. How about that? Love that. We go with the Browns. Felt good about it. They're at the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are -3.5. I am going with Pittsburgh here. Who do you like? Are you going with Cleveland 2 weeks in a row?
I am not. But listen, I feel like I should be very justified in fading the Steelers. Steelers beat the Giants. They beat the Broncos. They beat the Texans. They beat the Eagles. The Eagles had a chance to win that game at one point. I should be afraid. But that is not in my pure view. We have the Cleveland Browns here.
Yep.
They looked good. They look really good.
And they have looked pretty good since week 1.
But, I'm going to be very transparent. I put a Super Bowl win bet on the Steelers before the season started. Ben Roethlisberger's only thrown 1 interception this year, 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. This is his first true test against a good defensive line, in my opinion. But I think that they do just enough to win and cover this game.
For me, it's the history, man. The Browns cannot beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh, and with only 3.5 points, I'm all over the Steelers to cover here. The Browns have lost 16 straight games in Pittsburgh. They're 1-7 against the spread in their last 8 road games.
Terrible.
And I'm going to tell you right now, the Browns are not going to come through 2 weeks in a row. It's not going to happen, because if that does happen, then this division race might be taking a turn.
Yes.
It will be a statement. But for me, 3.5, because of the history, it's almost a money line for me, so I'm going with the Steelers, man.
Man, the Steelers' offense, we all know the Steelers' defense is good. The Steelers' offense is different this year. They actually have the full complement of great players. They have good tight ends, which Ben loves his reliable tight end.
Claypool had a breakout
is
game.
that oh my God, I'm forgetting his name, the pothead. Martavius Bryant. He is the Martavius Sorry, that's the only way.
Forgot about him.
He's the Martavius Bryant that he's missed, or that Antonio Brown deep threat, that gadget guy who can make a big play out of anything.
Yeah.
And then you have Juju, is a great receiver. I'm liking the pieces they have on this team. We really do need to get James Conner going. Only rushing for 230 yards. It's around 230 yards this season. They're going to need him to step up at some point, and why not start now?
Yeah, Connor reminds me of like a veteran pitcher with a mid ERA who he's kind of Mr. Reliable. Like, that he's going to go out there, he's going to give you, 5-6 innings, he's going to give you a chance to win the game, but he really hasn't been spectacular.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
All right, moving on here. Monday Night Football, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. I feel like we're talking about the Chiefs and the Bills every week.
Yes.
They seem to be at the top of the headline, and here we go. They're playing. The Chiefs are -4. The Bills just got whooped.
Dude.
The other night. I mean, just straight up whooped by
Every
Tennessee Titans.
aspect of that game they were getting beat at.
Every single aspect. All of it.
God.
Defensively, special teams, all of it.
Oh, my
Offensive
God.
line, defense, up front, stiff arms. I mean, Derrick Henry made them look like children.
Derrick Henry made them into memes.
I mean, damn. And it didn't take long. I mean, it was 20 seconds before that was the most popular meme on the internet.
Oh, my God.
Who? I mean, the Bills just look outmatched. And listen, they were due for a backslide.
Yes.
You and I thought it was going to happen in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
There was a couple times there. They were due for it. But here's the thing. The Chiefs are also looking for a bounce back.
Yes.
I'm surprised they gave up 40 points to the Raiders because I really feel like their defense has looked pretty good this year. That was surprising for me.
For me, I wasn't surprised in that Chiefs-Raiders game. I mean, the Raiders-Chiefs game, because I bet the Raiders total points first quarter, first half in full game. What I was surprised in was the fact that they had scored 28 points in the first half, and then the Chiefs couldn't find the end zone. They couldn't sustain drives. That's what surprised me.
They have those moments where it's almost like they're bored in the middle of the game. But then they come back and give you a chance to win. But okay, so both teams looking for a bounce back.
Yes.
I'm going with the Chiefs here, -4, even on the road. Who do you like?
I'm taking the Chiefs as well. What really finally showed was Superman kind of got a little nink in his armor where he showed that he's human. When you're playing at such a high level, you feel untouchable. And then there's that one thing that happens, that one mistake you make. Josh Allen was throwing interceptions like he was giving out candy on Halloween.
Yeah, and the other thing that I wanted to mention about the difference between these two losses, the Bills were playing the Titans, who it was not a division game.
No.
The Chiefs-Raiders should be competitive because they play twice a year. They know each other
the
very well.
The Titans haven't even freaking practiced.
Yeah, so that was it was just really really bad for the Bills to come out that way. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs here. They're 12-2 against the spread in their last 14 road games. We've talked about it before. They are still a covering machine.
Yes.
So until they tell me or show me otherwise, give me 2 weeks in a row where they don't cover the spread. Maybe we can talk.
Yes, and even
I'm still going to be on the
even
Kansas
from a
City
betting
train.
standpoint, no one on earth should have taken an 11.5 point spread. They were on the road.
Their spreads have been ridiculous.
Oh my God. Also, the Bills need to get their running game going. Singletary. You have him.
Yeah,
use
we talk
him.
about that because I feel like Josh Allen is like their only running.
Yes, you
right?
have to use him if you have him. I'm tired of seeing Josh Allen having to win the game by himself.
Yeah.
A lot of that could have been taken away if you pound the rock. Like, I want Singletary to get 17. If you're going to want to run one back, I want him to have 17 carries.
Yeah. Make him the workhorse.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Next, we have the Chicago Bears traveling to take on the Carolina Panthers. Panthers are a 2.5 point favorite. Miles, I am going to go with the Chicago Bears. Reason being, I called the Bears imposters.
You did. You were very adamant about them being a joke.
I
think
still
I recall.
think the Bears are imposters. But you can be an imposter and still win games when you're playing against teams that have reasons why you're beating them. Like, you look at Tampa Bay playing the Buccaneers. The entire receiving corps for the Buccaneers is hurt. Mike Evans is playing on one leg. I'm not going to go through the whole gamut because they earned that win. They have a top 5 defense. And you know what's different about this team? You know what's special about this team, even though I'm calling them imposters? I think, and guys, Bears fans, do not hit my inbox, give me hearts and love letters. I think that this Bears team
I don't think you have to worry about that.
has a better defense and better weapons for as far as wide receivers than that Eagles team that won the Super Bowl. Nick Foles is in a better situation because he has no pressure. The running game sucks. But the wide receivers are good, and the defense is gonna hold the teams under 28 points.
And special teams is good.
And special teams is good.
They're very well coached.
I think that this is going to be the surprise team of the season, and everyone's going to be like, we should have never drafted Mitchell Trubisky. But let me go ahead and shout out Mike Davis real quick for the Panthers. This is on such a tangent, but Mike Davis, over 220 yards in 2
he's been the
games.
difference maker.
Teddy Bridgewater doesn't get enough credit either.
Bro, I'm going to tell you something right now. Bridgewater is playing really good football
over 1,400 yards through the air.
So, I'm with the Panthers here, minus 2.5. I will say, you know how I love the line movement? This game opened with the Bears as 2.5-point favorites.
Yes.
And it's already moved
Yes.
to the Panthers minus 2. So, that does make me wary.
Yeah.
Where I feel like the Bears are a huge value bet
Yeah.
in this spot. There's no doubt about it. With 2.5, you might as well do money line. But the Panthers have been playing really good ball. Bridgewater has been playing a ball control, make no mistakes kind of offense, and the Panthers are winning games without McCaffrey, which is really impressive.
Yes.
You mentioned Davis. He's playing lights out. On the other side, the Bears against the spread numbers. 5-12 against the spread in their last 17 games. 2-5 against the spread in their last 7 on the road. Carolina on the other end, 7-1-1 against the spread in their last 9 at home versus teams with winning records. Did I ever think that we were going to be talking about the Panthers and the Bears as being a good football game at this point?
Crazy, right?
No, I did not. But to both of our points, we got two teams who are actually playing pretty good football right now. Say what you will about the Bears and Bucks game. The Bucks are a good team.
Yes.
And it was a hard-fought, gritty
That was an amazing
game.
effort by the Bears.
It was. And they found a way to win. The Panthers have been doing the same on the other side. Not with as good a competition, but I'm really, really curious to see which way this comes out. All right. What are we ending with?
Oh, man, I'm so stoked to talk about this game. It's the Los Angeles Rams, 3.5-point favorite, traveling to the San Francisco 49ers.
Sunday Night Football.
Sunday Night Football. Who you got?
Okay. I'm taking the Rams.
You have to.
Minus 3.5. Why is the line only 3.5? What is happening? The 49ers are a mess. They are a dumpster fire right now. Garoppolo, the $100 million man, getting benched. I mean, so many injuries on defense. Sherman is still going to be out. No identity. Losses to the Dolphins and the Eagles back-to-back. The Dolphins. I'm not going to bet on a team that just lost to the freaking Dolphins 2 weeks ago.
Miles.
And the Rams are playing like one of the best teams in the league right now.
Wait, I'm so pissed because you're talking about the Dolphins game. I put the Dolphins in a teaser because I was like, dude, I need to get as many points as I can. They went outright. This defense sucks.
But what is Vegas seeing is where I am curious as to this 3. There's got to be something historically with San Francisco at home on a Sunday night. But here's the other thing, if you can believe it. The Niners open as 3-point favorites.
Yes.
How is that possible?
I think that Vegas...
Guys, Rams. All over the Rams here.
Vegas sets the line super sharp here, But I'm taking the Rams. I don't normally bet too many sides in the NFL personally. Like, I try to find maybe 2 or 3 games that I really enjoy. This is going to be a game where I have to take the Rams. And if I lose, if the 49ers come out and put up an amazing performance, the Rams...
You can't be mad about it at that point.
Rams, 2-2 against the spread in their last 4. No one cares about that. The Rams have everything you need. Jalen Ramsey is playing lights out. You have a great running back trio.
Yeah.
Cam Akers was finally healthy, so you got Darrell Henderson, who scored, 2 times last week.
Yeah.
We have Mack Brown, and then we have Malcolm, whatever his name is.
Malcolm Brown, yeah.
Malcolm Brown. And then we have Cam Akers. This backfield is fun. But you know what's also great? Robert Woods is still playing at a high level.
Yeah, Robert Woods has been the difference in this offense, and McVay is finding ways to use him every single week. Honestly, even with the record being what it is, I think the Rams are actually quietly one of the best teams in the league right now. And we've talked about the Rams a couple times already this year, but watch out. They're 10-3 against the spread in their last 13 road games.
Tell me.
The Niners 1-7-1 against the spread in their last 9 games in the division. How is that a thing? 1-7-1 against the spread in their last 9 division games.
Miles, this is the start of the end for this year of the 49ers. And it's going to be so annoying that the 49ers are going to have a terrible season, or terrible in their standards, and they're going to get a great draft pick, and then all of their players are going to be healthy next year, and then everyone's going to be like, where'd the 49ers come from? No, they were just injured. They loaded up on a draft pick. But this is LA's year to show how good they are.
Yep. I know that we disagreed on the Bears-Panthers game, but for me, this week in the NFL, I saw 4 spreads that I think were really favorable to beat Vegas, and I'm looking to hit 3 out of 4 here.
Yes, I think that's
kind of where I'm at.
I think we can do it. we've watched a ton of football. We're at that point, every year for our podcast, we get to that point in the season where we've seen these teams enough.
Yeah.
We've
talked about them enough.
Yeah, we start to heat up. We dig into them. We watch film. Like, even in college football, like me going back and watching Notre Dame film when I've watched them play already, it's like we're just watching enough film, watching enough highlights to go and check it out. I'm excited to see what we come up with.
And we got a lot of exciting games coming up in college football, like down in like talking about Notre Dame hosting Clemson.
Yes.
I think that's going to be a huge. We're going to talk about where by the end of the season, I really think we're going to have at least 6 teams that are going to make a have a resume good enough to make the playoff, and the committee is going to have a decision on their hands. A decision. I mean, we could have a 8-1 Penn State team with their only loss being to Ohio State. We could have an undefeated Ohio State team. We could have a 1-loss Georgia team. I mean, we could have the undefeated Alabama. We could have Clemson. We could have Notre Dame with only 1 loss or undefeated.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
we
going to
could
be
have
wild.
North Carolina with 1 loss, because I doubted North Carolina.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You had Virginia Tech in that game.
Yes.
That was a wild game, by the way.
Yes.
Anyway, I could go on forever, but that was fun.
Guys, thank you so much to listening to What's the Spread. I hope you guys win some money. Make sure you download Vigit, VIGIT. Take care, guys. I appreciate it. And good luck with your bets.